everybody, welcome back to the No Vacancy Podcast. And I'm excited here because I have Estella Hale. She's a VP of Products with SHR. And I should say, before I bring Estella into the show, that we're coming at you live on Facebook right now, or you're downloaded this as a podcast. Maybe you're at the gym. Maybe you're on your commute. Maybe you're eating family dinner and they're boring you so much you just wanted to listen to this show. I don't know. But I'm having a great time here recording and broadcasting from the Gaylord National Hotel from the 2018 AHOA National Convention. Estella, welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
So I'm really excited to have you over here today. You know, SHR, people might have known you as Scepter back in the day, or Skepter, or I'm skeptical of people who don't know your current name these days, which is SHR. So, you know, when did you change the name to SHR, and how are people, you know, how did people getting used to the name out there?
Well, it was when we created Scepter Hospitality Resources. Before that we were Whiteboard Labs, and we're also known for our main CRS, which is Windsurfer CRS.
Right, of course.
But it was such a long name that we are now going by the acronym of SHR. So the branding of it has taken a while, but it's been since 2012.
Right, of course. I like that because it's easier for me to remember 3 letters than 3 words. I'm a very simple folk here, Estella. So for people that aren't familiar what SHR is, maybe you give us the quick, 30-second understanding of the company.
Sure, absolutely. So basically at SHR, we provide technology tools, sophisticated tools that help hotels manage distribution strategy, complex distribution strategy. So our vision is to be the most trusted brand in hoteliers, and to just simplify the world of hoteliers with technology and with service. And we believe central reservation system and the evolution of it is going to be such an integral part of how hotels connect to guests and guests connect to them, that is our vision and mission.
Yeah, you are absolutely correct. And I think that the biggest challenge for hoteliers is to understand that it's such a complex environment and that they really can't do it themselves if they want to connect with the guest in a 21st century meaningful kind of a way.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, to start, we can start to break down a little bit and talk about the different connections and how do you implement this. So think about it. Distribution is guided by strategy,
right?
Revenue management strategy.
Right.
It's implemented or
right.
empowered with tools, whether those are technology, processes, what have you, and then really the best utilization where all that comes together is when they connect to the guest. And we're seeing a mega trend in the industry. Even you see chains going asset light and them going really into providing these best practices for their members. So technology becomes a central part of what they can do. And also what we believe is that the way the guests are interacting with hotels is different, mainly because of how they interact with the world in general.
Right.
From
the computer in your pocket is kind of changing everything.
Exactly,
right.
And they expect more of that predictive marketing, relevant information, and there's the number of places in which they can find hotel content now. It's just a myriad of places.
Right.
And at one of those points, a buying decision is made.
Okay, so I want to break this down because I don't want to go through this too quickly because there's so much goodness here that I want to mine and understand. Let's talk a little bit about how the overall distribution and landscape has changed first, and then kind of how you provide the relevant content to the guests. So in the last, 10 years since the iPhone first debuted, how has the distribution landscape changed in your expert opinion?
Well, there has been a number of channels that have entered the market, and there has been a shift of channels of what traditional distribution did. So, we all know the GDSs have been there for a very long time. They're not going anywhere. But we also know there has been a strong shift of channels with the entrance of the OTAs and understanding the power that they bring, but also understanding the tool that they are.
Right.
From a marketing perspective, from an acquisition perspective, not necessarily from putting all of your revenue management perspective.
Right, so when you say marketing and acquisition perspective, it makes me think, they get them in the door, and then it's your job to get them back again as a hotelier.
Correct, but not only get them back, but engage with them.
Right.
guests do not post how their OTA booking experience was. They post how their hotel experience
That's right.
was. So it is important for hotels to come back to realize that when they're embracing with distribution is connecting to the guest. For several years now, hotels have been hearing, you need to be in every channel. You need to be in 100 channels,
Right.
200 channels, 300 channels. I'll give you 400 for X amount per month. They've just been hearing this quite a bit. So I think that the focus shifted into connecting with channels, and I think it's time to bringing it back to connecting with guests.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I got the chills just hearing that. So how do you go about providing relevant content to the guests that's going to capture their attention and make them book that particular hotel?
Well, you start with the mediums in which you play. So you start with the mediums and what content can you provide on a
Right.
GDS realm, for example? What information can you bring? Can you participate in consortia? Are you highlighting your amenities and your latest things, not on your website, of course, and all the other channels, but also on your GDS? How's that content looking? Then you look at channels such as, of course, all of the OTAs. Are you connected? Is there a shift of channels there? Is the affiliation of all of these different networks providing you more or less information? If you do have a myriad of channels, are you managing the content in all of them?
Ooh, that's a really good point. Are you managing the content, and what is that content that's up there? Because you have to have content that's going to really relate to what the guest's lifestyle is and how it relates to them personally. To me, the biggest sin is when I go onto a hotel site and it says amenities, pool.
Yes.
Restaurant. That does nothing to engage me as a customer and further my curiosity to wanting to explore more. A lot of hotels have pools. A lot of hotels have restaurants. But what are you doing for me as a guest?
Correct. And hotels know their hotel and their market and what makes them attractive better than anyone. So do not limit yourselves to the cookie cutter amenity bullet points that are out there to portray your hotel in that way. But really, what is it that sells it? And it doesn't have to be this 5-star adventure of a lifetime that is how you can describe it. It can be,
Right.
If I'm on a business trip and I want a breakfast that is ready as I'm going and an easy way to get to my meeting, in a way that I don't have to worry about it,
Right.
I can play that
I think
too.
that people overcomplicate things, right? And they worry too much about it. Look, I'm just going to my in-laws' house next weekend for a
Yes.
family holiday. My needs are XYZ. It's real simple to tell me what the story is of your hotel, to relate to me in an emotional sort of a way, so I'm going to feel confident in my buying decision. And that means connecting with people, in my opinion, through great copy, through great imagery, even through great videos these days.
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, the guests are finding their content in many different places now. As hotels, we are no longer the only holders of content that can portray how our property is being viewed.
Right.
But we do have to be alert and see and know how our guests are viewing that content. So come to it from a guest perspective. Look at your property from different devices.
Right.
See if the experience that they're getting when they call your call center or wherever that phone call is being picked up, if they're playing up the amenities that you have in your content, that you have in your images, etc. So again, just making sure that according to each one of those channels and what they can provide, you can convey the value that goes beyond those standard 5 bullet points that
So
are allowed.
you had said that you got to be paying attention to all the people that are distributing your hotel for the type of content they're doing that. Any tips that you have in order to make sure that people could feel confident they're taking all the steps to make sure their hotel is being represented by third-party sellers most efficiently and effectively?
Yes. Look, again, the distribution is guided by revenue management strategy, right? And in revenue management, you have all of these points of data from what are your biggest channel production, where are your channels shifting, etc. So take that information and number one, pay attention to those channels that are shifting or growing or going down, and then see if the content there is relevant. Also, pay attention to those that are not producing, and it sounded as a good idea because they came part of the bundle. If that is distracting you from having the relevant content of where your guest is engaging you the most, then don't worry about those, because typically connections from channel managers or CRSs, or even if PMSs are connected to channels, typically what flows is what we call ARI, availability rates, inventory reservations. Most of the time, it does not include the hotel content. And so that is something that hotels have to pay attention to, or either have to load, or either have to see that it was conveyed in that way. So again, from that perspective, measuring time, return, number of reservations, etc., it's worthwhile checking how much time am I spending on the number of channels that I'm being presented.
So should you be on every single channel that's possible, or should you cut some out to make your life simpler because you're probably getting 80% of your business from 2 or 3 as opposed to 500?
Yeah, I mean, depending on the market and type of hotel, it's going to vary.
Right.
So we now have, of course, networks of channels that can distribute on multiple ones. So that's something that makes it easier, right? Because it's consolidated and it's going to bring you a myriad of channels. But you do have to check if you're going into the hundreds. Really, is that the number of channels that you need to be for your property? Now, it is always worthwhile exploring new channels or where they are shifting. You know, if there is a new growing market, an income market, a global market that is coming in, look at those channels and say, okay, I do want to participate on those and see if they bring me anything. But it is, again, like you do in any revenue management strategy, when you're launching a promo,
Right.
when you're doing your digital marketing and implementing it, etc., apply that with channels as well.
Now, one of the amazing things that's happened to the world since we've got the computers in our pockets is that it's not just your content. If you're a hotelier, the guests are creating their own content that can help your hotel be more successful. How can a hotel turn these great pictures that might be being taken at the property level into actionable insight that future guests are going to say, oh, I got to stay at this place?
Oh, definitely. I think that is what truly provides what the hotel experience is.
Yeah.
So giving your guests the ability to share those with you, or again, making it part of the digital marketing strategy that you have, and to looking at what is being posted and then sharing that, because that really is sharing the experience.
And should you share that through social media, or maybe have on your homepage of your website for your hotel, for example, a space where guests have, curated content, perhaps?
Yes, I mean, your website is a great place to bring that curated content, because a lot of times that's where the buying decision happens. However, hotels and hoteliers are also bombarded week after week of use this new technology, use this new tool. You're losing if you're not doing this or that. So again, also think of your website as something that needs to be streamlined and simple, that is going to bring relevant information that conveys the staying experience. So I agree.
Right.
Those images that are being shared convey that experience, but at the end, making easy for them to book. A lot of the tools out there are wonderful, but do you need them all? Do they feed your strategy?
Okay, so make it easy to book. What does that mean to you?
So there are two aspects of it, from a hotelier perspective and
Right.
from a guest perspective, and you have to take both into consideration. From a hotelier perspective, what tools do I have on my technology that can empower that revenue management strategy? So if I'm launching a new promotion, does my technology allow me to do things like persuasive messaging?
Right.
Am I able to show a strike-through pricing so they can see the value right away? Am I able to do things like show how many rooms are sold or which rate is the most popular? Does my technology allow me to curate the rates to present the one that is most valuable to a guest, instead of showing them a list of 17 rates, but bringing that information to them? So that's from a hotel perspective.
Right.
Look at the technology that you have and see what tools can implement. One more from the hotel perspective is also learn from your digital marketing, from your whether it's your Google Tag Manager, whatever it is that you're using to tell you where your guests are navigating, and see the path that they're taking. So if somebody spends quite a bit of time looking at your rooms, maybe because you have great content and images, find a way to drive them into the booking path with whatever room they were looking at. A lot of us, configure variables where you can make that path a little bit simpler.
Right.
But at the same time, is it relevant content to the guest?
And this is where SHR could come in and help create that simple path, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's one of the things that we do. So so far we've launched 5 different booking engine experiences. We're always working on improving the booking engine experience. But then we also look at the entire distribution landscape that we cover. So, for example, one of the applications that we power is a call center application, or CRO. What we found is that as people were using the mobile booking engine quite a bit, but the conversion was lower than in other mediums. So what we did is we tied that call center application into the mobile display of the booking engine. So if anybody for some reason had a question, they can touch a button and with an itinerary get passed to an agent that knew everything you had explored to that point. So really, it is to be cross-context among devices and cross-context around the channels that you can power.
Well, I'm glad there's companies out there like SHR to do it for me, because as much as I understand it, it seems very confusing and complex. And if I was a hotel owner, I'd want to be focusing on making sure that my rooms were comfortable and clean, and my employees were really taking care of the guest needs. What about the future? I think what we're headed towards now, and I speak about this a lot, is that whole idea of mass customization, creating personalized experiences for thousands of people, all individualized to their taste, their needs, and their preferences. How do you see the future? And maybe I'm completely wrong. Do you think I know where this is where we're going?
Oh no, absolutely. I think you're very much on target, and it's something that I've heard more and more in the different conferences that we participate on. Basically personalization and that offer to the one guest.
Right.
Basically, that is where we see things going, but it is not a single voice. That is the evolution of CRS, and we believe that is much at the center of where it will happen, but there's more than one voice at play here.
Right.
So here, the voices at play that we see are CRM, so customer relationship, RMS, revenue management, and of course, PMS. So think about the 3 different aspects that can create that business layer that can deliver an offer to you. One, knowing something about you, that
Right.
CRM aspect, whether it's anonymous or whether it is that I know you and can present you an offer. Then having the ability to serve those offers based on when you're staying, and then being able to serve them at the best price. So what exists today is the integrations of all of these systems, and they work very well.
Right.
And most of us have integrations with each other, but I do see the evolution of these 3 coming together more.
Right. And I want to underscore, when you say best price, you don't mean lowest price.
No.
You mean the most effective price that's going to get the person to make that buy decision. You don't have to undercut yourself, especially
Correct.
if you're creating offers that are highly personalized, that understand who that human being is at the other end of the computer. So one of the things that frustrated me for years was I don't play golf, right? I don't like golf just because I'm a guy from Brooklyn and I never learned how to play golf. But I get offers all the time from hotels with great golf packages, and that kind of annoys me. So, it's great if, when you partner with a company like SHR, they'll know that I prefer napping as opposed to getting out and being physical, for example. Or I like insight on great restaurants or whatever it might be. And you could create individualized packages that really play into the stuff that I love and respond to as a guest. And because I love and will respond to it, I'm not going to be looking for the lowest price. I'm going to be looking for the best experience that I feel gives me great value.
Absolutely. And think of it from the technology perspective. the environment for creating that is here. With GDPR and the guest being able to control what part of the profile you can have, but at the same time, with the guest experiencing those apps that are constantly predicting what their next behavior is, on the one side, the intelligence exists. On the other side, now the landscape demands it. So it's definitely the place where we have to go. So one of the first places that I see that might be moving, for example, to a CRS, is profile management. Typically handled on a PMS. It could certainly move to a CRM, and hotels manage both CRS and RMS. But I do see a stronger profile management as a must, and definitely something that we're heavily investing on to be able to manage that and to be able to make those relevant offers. But even if you don't get to the point of that personalized offer, there's still information that you can have by seeing the path that someone took. How long they looked at a particular page, what piqued their interest, just what is it that brought them to that buying decision. Those are all items that can be used so that's the today.
Yeah.
As we get to the tomorrow and to that profile management that is more relevant.
How do you make sure that SHR is always on the cutting edge and thinking about stuff, not just for today, but 5 and 10 years from now, so you can be ready for when it actually hits the mainstream?
Well, I think like everyone, we try to stay on top of the trends and what is happening. I think also at the same time, you do have to have an overall vision of where you think things are going. And, we have other great companies that also provide CRS and might be taking different paths as to what is going to empower distributions for hotels in the future. Again, on our side, based on all of the information that we have, based on the really in-depth integrations that we have with everything from property management system, making sure that you deliver that reservation, even if they made it in the parking lot and they're walking into your hotel right there and then.
Right.
And also, it is now so much cheaper, really, to store data.
Yeah.
You really can store massive amount of data. So messages that maybe were not relevant 5 or 10 years ago now become very relevant into what we're going to predict and build in the future.
And it's going to get more exciting as machine learning really develops and you're able to crunch giant loads of data into that actionable insight that we were talking about earlier. Real relevant information gleaned by finding all these disparate connections that you would have had no idea that were related, but the computers know.
Correct. And that's why that business intelligence layer becomes so important, because that is the one that will make those more unique or personalized recommendations based on what has been learned from either decisions that have been pushed into the system or shifts of channels, etc.
Excellent. I love it. I feel like we've talked a lot. Is there something that I've missed asking you today?
Oh, that's actually a hard question.
I know.
I don't know.
So I think if it's a hard question, I must have covered everything I was hoping to cover today. This has been a really interesting conversation, but I would be remiss if I didn't give you an opportunity to share how people can find you, how people can connect with SHR, how people could learn how their hotels could be more profitable by working with you.
Oh, thank you so much, Glenn. Well, it's been a pleasure, and yeah, time flew, so this was fun and exciting. People can connect to us via our website, so it is shr.global, and or they can connect to us via email, which is info@shr.global.
Well, there you got it. Just go to shr.global or info@shr.global and tell them Glenn and Estella sent you on
Sounds
over.
great.
Estella Hale, VP of Products with SHR. It's been amazing having you on the show and educating me about the current state and future state of hospitality technology.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
And I want to thank all of you guys for listening to another fun episode here of the No Vacancy Podcast. I know I learned a lot. Did you learn a lot? Be in touch. Tell me what you learned. Tell me what you thought was the most interesting part of this call, and I'll let Estella know exactly what you thought of this podcast. Just reach out to me, Glenn Hausman. Where am I? Where can I be found? At Traveling Glenn on Instagram, at Traveling Glenn on Twitter. Like our Facebook page, and be sure to download our show each and every week wherever you can find podcasts. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll be back next time with another episode of the No Vacancy Podcast.